She was 11 years old when one of the biggest entertainment companies in the world told her she was good enough. 12 years later, they threw her away. They spent years trying to change her voice. Then the world paid 300 million streams to hear her. In 2026, that same voice won a Grammy, the first K-pop artist in history to ever hold one. Her name is EJAE, and this is the story of the girl who lost everything, disappeared completely, and then wrote herself into the record books. Origin: December 6, 1991, Seoul, South Korea. Kim Yoon-jae is born into a family where art is not a pastime, it is a bloodline. Her grandfather, Shin Young-kyun, appeared in 294 Korean films across his career. He donated vast personal assets to the development of Korean cinema. In a country where legacy matters, she arrives carrying one. She doesn't grow up in Seoul. At 6 months old, the family relocates to Fort Lee, New Jersey. She is American before she is Korean. She speaks 2 languages, lives 2 lives, and at the center of both, music. At age 4, she hears H.O.T's song Candy on a small television in a New Jersey apartment. That is the moment. That is when she decides. Entering the machine. Kim Woon-jae is 11 years old. SM Entertainment is not just a record label. It is the factory that built H.O.T, BOA, TVXQ, and Girls' Generation. Getting in is a childhood lottery. What happens next is something harder. She gets in. The training system is designed to produce one thing: perfection. Every week, trainees compete in internal evaluations. The executives watch, they rank, they cut. She shuttles between New Jersey and Seoul throughout her adolescence, balancing her American schooling with Korean training, trying to exist in both worlds at once. There is just one problem. SM Entertainment has a sound. Bright, clean, precise. EJ's natural voice is none of those things. It is low, husky, the kind of voice that sounds like it has already lived through something. They want her to change it, so she tries, she pushes, she strains her voice towards something that isn't her, and the damage is real. Her vocal cords crack, her voice disappears for weeks at a time. She keeps trying anyway. Year after year, she watches other trainees debut. Girls' Generation in 2007, FX in 2009, Red Velvet in 2014. She is considered for multiple groups, including one that was never announced, cancelled before it ever had a name. Each one disappears. Each time, she stays. The drop. She is 23 years old. In K-pop, 23 is already old. The industry has a clock. She didn't beat it. SM lets her contract run out without selecting her for anything. No group, no solo debut, nothing. 12 years. 0 performances. She calls it a breakup. Mutual, she says, but heartbreaking. She had spent her entire adolescence inside that company. Her whole sense of self was built around a future that quietly dissolved. For a long time after, she felt hopeless. She moves back to New York. She enrolls at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, studying music and psychology, trying to figure out what she actually is without the training system to define her. She makes beats in her Brooklyn apartment, alone, late at night, the kind of instrumental music she finds on SoundCloud, focused on sound and texture rather than performance. It is the first music she has ever made purely for herself. She writes a song, her first original composition. She calls it Hello. She writes it about an ex-boyfriend. She has no idea it will change everything. The reinvention. A songwriter named Andrew Choi hears Hello. He spots something inside it, a voice that isn't trying to be anything other than what it is. He brings her into a studio. He mentors her, and in 2017, 2 years after SM dropped her, he brings her back to the last place she expected to return, an SM Entertainment songwriting camp. The company that spent 12 years telling her she wasn't good enough had invited her back, this time to write for the artist she once watched debut without her. She sat down at that camp and in 30 minutes wrote the top-line melody for a song. She drew from a fight with her long-distance partner. She had no idea what it would become. That song was Psycho. Red Velvet released it in 2019. It hit #1 on the US Billboard World Digital Songs chart. It won Song of the Year at the Gaon Chart Music Awards. It was the 5th song she had ever written. The Shadow Years. From 2017 to 2024, EJAE becomes one of K-pop's most in-demand behind-the-scenes writers. Twice. aespa, Le Seraphim, NMIXX. Hit after hit, released under other people's names, performed on stages she will never stand on. She is invisible. She is building. Then, in 2019, a film director named Maggie Kang calls. Kang is making a Netflix animated film, a story about a K-pop girl group that secretly hunts demons. She needs someone who understands K-pop from the inside, someone who can write songs that feel real, because they were written by someone who lived it. EJAE spends the next 5 years building the musical DNA of the film. Some sequences require 60 separate demo versions before anyone approves a single bar. She records every part herself. Lead vocals, harmonies, backgrounds, even the male characters as placeholders. She was brought in to write, not to perform. But the directors keep hearing her voice in the demos. And because the protagonist Rumi needs a lower, huskier register than her bandmates, the exact quality that SM spent years trying to eliminate, the question becomes obvious. Why use anyone else? Director Kang would later write publicly that EJAE had been working on the film since 2019 and that her demos were a significant reason the project was greenlit in the first place. K-pop Demon Hunters premiered on Netflix on June 20th, 2025. Within 1 month, it became the most watched animated film in Netflix history. Every track from the soundtrack charted on the Billboard Hot 100. 4 songs simultaneously hit the top 10. And at the center of all of it, a song called Golden. Vocal coaches called it technically extraordinary, 3 full octaves peaking at an A5 in the chorus, a note normally reserved for trained operatic sopranos. The voice SM had told her to change, the voice she had nearly destroyed trying to sound like something else. That voice spent 8 consecutive weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, the longest run by an animated group in the chart's history, surpassing a record that had stood since 1969 by Archie's Sugar Sugar. The speech. January 11th, 2026, Beverly Hills. EJAE walks to the podium at the Golden Globes to accept Best Original Song. She is 34 years old. She has been in this industry for 23 years. She looks out at the audience. She takes a breath. She says she wants to talk about a little girl who worked tirelessly for 10 years to fulfill one dream. A girl who wanted to become a K-pop idol. A girl who was told her voice wasn't good enough. Who was rejected, who walked out of a long corridor one afternoon in 2015 and didn't know what came next. She dedicates the award to that girl, and to everyone who has ever had a door closed on them. She closes with a line from the song, "It's never too late to shine like you were born to be." And on February 1st, 2026, Los Angeles, the Grammy for Best Song. Written for visual media, EJAE becomes the first K-pop artist in history to win a Grammy Award. She cried all day after. She thought about the girl she used to be, and she told her, "Good job."